Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Red Pill Religion channel. I, as usual, am your host, Max. Today we're joined by Normie Gardner, who we'll be talking about in a little bit. But say hello, Normie.
How you doing?
Yeah, I want to remind everybody to please give us a like, please give us a subscribe. And as I have, please tell your friends and enemies, and please give us your financial support. We are a growing movement. You may have noticed that the channel name has changed. That is to reflect the reality that on this channel, first off, there's more than just Max Kolbe present, so it's not just the Max Kolbe channel anymore by any means. And also, Escaping Atheism, while we're still proud of that project and it will continue, Escaping Atheism has become a sub-project under the larger umbrella of Red Pill Religion. And we will be discussing issues, not just atheism and religion, but in general, we will be talking about politically incorrect issues, issues that we think are especially of interest to young men and the women who care about them, and human spirituality in all its manifestations and how important, and by the way, healthy and rational that is to be spiritual. In fact, your ultimate red pill is realizing that it's rational to think there's a God. It's rational to think there's an afterlife. It's rational to think that there is an ultimate moral right and wrong. It's rational to think there are supernatural and spiritual forces. The culture has been lying to you for more than a decade about all those things. I want to also remind everybody that on escapingatheism.com, which we're going to transition into redpillreligion.com, we do have neat new content on there going up just about every day. Our volunteer John Bosco's got his rebuttal of a free thinker propaganda article series up on there. All of our videos also go up on escapingatheism.com. You can learn about our fund, where you can support us financially there as well. So, with that said, I want to turn everybody's attention over to Normie Gardner. Here's the Normie Gardner channel. Normie, Normie, gardener, like a man who makes gardens. And I see that, Normie, I see you started about 3 months ago. Does that
Yep,
sound right?
yep, that pretty much. Very ambitious. My first
So
video.
now, and,
Go
and,
ahead.
and, and it sounds like very early on you started getting interested in the topic of online atheism, although you also talk about things like IQ and the alt-right and politics. Also, you like a guitar, don't you?
Yeah, yep. That's I am a formerly a professional musician, now just playing it for fun and profit. So
Really,
yeah.
what kind of professional musician were you? I know you play a
Uh,
slide guitar, and I love slide guitar.
I was director of music at a church for many years. That's how I met my wife. And yeah, but that's how I did professionally. Before that, I was, for a short time was basically struggling, trying to make a living, trying to be a rock star. That was my about like 15 years ago. That's
Uh-huh.
those days are long past now. Now I have a regular job, that normal life. Hence the name. But I still have the skills and still break it out sometimes, and thought it'd be a good intro to my videos. And maybe I'll put some more music stuff on this channel if people want to. Just let me know. Put some songs on there if you like.
Well, so you became a normie. That's why you call yourself normie, right? You used to lead the musician's life.
I
Now you
used
got a wife. Now you got a wife, kids, and a garden.
Yeah, pretty much. I used to be a lot weirder than I am now. I'm getting older now, you know. So exactly, I feel like I'm a normie when I look at the. I mean, I'm just this guy looking at all this crazy stuff on the internet and just getting my perspective. And really, when I try to pigeonhole myself, the only thing I can come up with, I'm not alt right. I'm not atheist. I'm not a skeptic. I'm just a normal guy. That's all I am. Just trying to make sense of things. So that's why I named myself Normie. And I love gardening. I do. It's a hobby of mine. Very relaxing. It lets you think. Getting offline, getting unplugged, working in the garden, awesome. I would definitely recommend it for anyone. You
You
know,
really should get offline sometimes and go out
yeah,
and interact with people in normal everyday life.
it is
Um,
really different. Yes, and I've got
it's
yeah, I've gotten sucked into the online world for like many years, and just sometimes it's good just to unplug, take a day, and just not get online. Like this is a great example. Like the Jews have the Sabbath where they don't Orthodox Jews don't do anything electronic for one day, and That's a great idea. Like just refreshing, just to take a day and just get off. That's one of the things that you would get in like spirituality and religion that atheists don't seem to get sometimes. That like that there's these ways to live life, that are like there's a reason thousands of people, millions of people suck to this way of life. I mean, you can't just discount it. Look at why they did it. That's what my attitude is anyway.
Well, yeah, it's very interesting. In my own journey out of atheism and into accepting that there was a God, I did not make the leap to Christianity right away. And even when I did make it to Christianity, I was a little weak in a lot of areas. But during my journey, believe it or not, Orthodox Jews who tend to be who like had gone to rabbinical school and really knew their stuff, they weren't trying to convert me, but they were very interested in talking to me and just talking to me about God and what guys, and they were interested in my questions, and they spent time with me because I was trying to understand why anybody would believe there was a God at all. And while some people listening may just freak out and say, oh, well, you just got in a love affair with Jews or whatever, no, these are people who really helped me understand there was a God and that it was rational to think there was a God. You can't make me, and since getting God in my life has made my life infinitely richer, your ability to get me to hate Jews with you is going to be limited.
Exactly.
And I would say that, and by the way, John Paul II had real good Jewish friends.
Oh yeah,
St. John Paul II had real good Jewish friends. Pius XII saved hundreds of thousands of Jews. That Pope did.
Absolutely true. There's like there's that little malicious little lie going around about him, but it's not really true, and also like Rome historically was a safe haven for the Jews. All through the Middle Ages, there was a big Jewish community in Rome closest to the Pope. I think that's a reason for that. I think anti-Semitism is more of a cultural thing than it ever was a religious thing. And that's just my opinion. Like where the church,
one of the things I would say is that if you look into anything, I mean, there have been bad and good relationships between Jews and Christians on both sides for a long time.
Absolutely.
Actually, for all 2,000 years of the church's history, for all 2,000 years. Yeah. And there were some times when the Jews were nasty and mean and persecuted us. There's some times when Christians went the other way. But in reality, the Vatican always pretty much took a line that you're to treat them with Jews with Christian charity. You are not supposed to, you want them to convert. That's the line, of course. But torturing them, killing them, treating them like dirt, treating them like pariahs is not okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned The Myth of Hitler's Pope, and this is a good book written by a rabbi of all people, Rabbi David G. Dalen, calling The Myth of Hitler's Pope. I mention all this just because, why do we want to talk? Oh, you were talking about the Sabbath and how that, how moderns don't get it. Yeah, one thing people don't know about Jews is their Sabbath is, technically it's Saturday. The Sabbath is on Saturday for Jews.
Yep.
And Christians specifically moved the Sabbath off. The early church, the apostles, the early bishops moved the Sabbath observation to Sunday, in part because that was the day Jesus resurrected.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why the Christians celebrate the Sabbath on a different day. But the Jews but the Jews are also keeping to a habit still to this day, the Orthodox Jews, of the day starts the sunset the night before. So actually, for example, on the Jewish calendar, this is not Monday night. This is the beginning of Tuesday because it's dark out already.
Yeah, which is also why Catholics have you have a vigil mass, like where you can go to mass. If you're a Catholic, you can go to mass on Saturday night as opposed to Sunday morning, because that's the same idea. Sunset to sunset was the day.
Right. And the Jews, it's pretty interesting because when I first heard about this, I thought it sounded awful too. This was many, many years ago. But I mean, one of the rules of the Orthodox Jews, who, by the way, are practitioners of the Pharisee religion. We'll get into that, but even they'll admit to you that that's what they are.
Oh, yeah.
From sunset Friday night to sunset Saturday night, full 24 hours. They do nothing that would be considered work unless it's truly an emergency, like a doctor.
Yeah.
And they may light no spark or set no fire. Again, unless it's an emergency, someone's freezing to death. Obviously, you got to do something, right? But
Yeah.
Otherwise, no. And they will stay, and they're not allowed to travel unless it's an emergency. So they all stay home, and they don't cook, so food has to be left out for them the day before. They don't cook. They don't watch TV. Well, they're not. There's ways around this, but they don't use any electronic devices. So no surfing the internet, no channel surfing the TV. They will, in many cases, the more modern ones will they'll just leave lights on, and they'll leave a TV on the news channel at a low volume. But so they have a little bit, but otherwise, nothing. They do no work.
Yeah, I was just saying, now an atheist listening to this will just say, "Oh, that's so stupid. They believe in this fairy tale about the 7 days." It's like they just don't get it. This is like a ritual. This is a belief. This is something like humans aren't rational all the time. We need rituals. We need habits. We need good habits. That's how we learn. And
rituals are habits, and saying you'll have no rituals maybe even mean you'll develop no good habits. Do you know what going off like that does for them? They have to get together as family and neighbors.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else to do. They have to have time of quiet because there's no playing music. So they talk, they play games, they pray, they meditate, they read, they spend time with their neighbors and their family members, and the whole rest of the world can just go rot. And they're the habit of doing that every week. Many Jews will tell you their favorite part of being Jewish, of being observant Orthodox Jews, is Sabbath.
Exactly.
Is that 24 hours when it's nothing but them, God, their family, their friends, their home, and no productive work is supposed to be done. Again, unless it's an emergency. Obviously, somebody breaks a leg, get the doctor, whatever, but otherwise, no work, nothing that would be any effort. And I actually wonder sometimes if Catholics ought not to model that somehow. I mean, there's some real value in that.
Yeah, it's not like the Ten Commandments have stopped being valid, I mean, like we should still keep it holy, and like Christians should still keep it holy. It's funny because I'm thinking about I talk to a lot of guys on the alt-right, I'm hopefully when I have a civil conversation, sometimes it goes south and they get mad at me, but most of the times I can talk to them and they really want to build Western civilization again. This is how you do it, dude. This is how you do it. You build your families up together. Like you build rituals. This is the meat and bones of a culture. And this is what really made Western civilization good. I mean, it certainly just wasn't like the race. That wasn't the most. I think that's the least important part of Western civilization. Like, look at the religions, get the wisdom from them. I mean, or even practice the religions. Like it's such a big, deep, rich well of wisdom that's just like sitting there. And it's so sad. People just ignore it, or they just say, "Oh well, that's just a bunch of fairy tales." I mean, before we even start, that's what really started making me want to do my YouTube channel. I felt like we just need to look at this stuff.
We really do. It's very. I've seen this among what they call the alt-right, and actually among the more pseudoscience and radical fringe of what's called MGTOW. Which I can tell you 10 years ago already existed and was more moderate than a lot of today's MGTOW. Mm-hmm. But it's these alt-right guys, and a lot of these guys really have been sucked into the idea that becoming religious means becoming brainwashed and turning your mind and your thinking off and turning your whole life over to doing whatever the priest says or something like that. And
so dumb. Sorry.
It is dumb. It's really dumb. Well, I mean, you can, it's a narrative they can sustain. Well, I literally, you talk to a priest and just ask any priest. Go ahead. How well do your parishioners obey your instructions, sir?
Oh, dude, I used to work for a priest. I didn't even obey his instructions.
Are you kidding? And they probably can't even get them out of the confessional to do what they're
Yeah,
supposed to do. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. And you see people arguing with the priests or the church all the time. It's whether they should or not is another argument. But
yeah.
uh,
I mean, you mentioned that talk about in the description, like I'm going through this series where I'm looking at different religions, right? And the next religion I have to look at is Islam. Now, this is hard for me to do because my temperament. I'm everyone has reasons they hate Islam, have reasons. But here's the thing, even like even like if everyone wants to say, okay, this is like the really bad one, this is the really bad religion would be Islam, right? But even then, it's not as bad as people think it is, and it's not like this cartoon character video is it's not really the real thing, and you have to actually. I think there's a reason. I don't think it's possible for any major religion, if you really look at it, to be not have some wisdom in it. Otherwise, just by sheer deduction, how do you think so many millions of people live their lives this way? It can't just be a bunch of nonsense. If you're an atheist looking at this, think about this: like millions of people have lived their lives over thousands of years according to this religion. Do you think really it's all just crap? Just look at it, be open to it.
yeah, talk to somebody who's at least as intelligent, if not more so, than you. Hey, we have some fun in the comments going already.
Oh, really?
I'm going to have to see if I can say this right. Yehoshaphat Oliver. Did I say it right? Yehoshaphat? Oh, probably close enough. He says, I am Jewish. Proud Pharisee here. All right, we got a Pharisee on our hands. Yehoshaphat, you should come on a show on the street sometime. Send us an email. I keep meaning to get a good Jew in here to talk about this stuff with me. I still haven't managed it all these months. He says everyone leaves lights on during Sabbath. I can believe that. I can believe that. That's what I heard. You guys, and you'll like maybe leave one radio on or one TV on. Just you don't touch it, so you leave it on a medium volume, that kind of thing. And he says, well, see, Jews Strictly Week says, Jews sound like the Dutch people. I know even the kids don't play on Sunday. Well, I don't know about not playing. That doesn't, you want kids to enjoy their day off. Yehoshaphat says, the cohesion in Western culture came from religion, not race, although race was a secondary part. I agree completely. It is foolish to, this is why I can only get, like when white nationalists complain about white people being discriminated against, since that's visibly a reality now, I have no beef with them, but I don't bond over somebody's whiteness, dude. I really don't. I like to say like some hipster, from Berkeley or even New York, and I have nothing in common, even if we almost look alike. Whereas honestly, a Puerto Rican Catholic, I got a lot in common with him. It's not that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, that's the thing I feel most like a normie. It's this new thing the last couple of years with race. I mean, honestly, it just baffles me that people care about this stuff. I'm being totally honest. I am very confused why people care about this. I don't know why. I mean, like, why would you go back to this? It's just so boring to me. The idea, oh, geez, there's so much more interesting things in the world to talk about. No?
Well, there really is, because if you're getting serious about race, okay, now actually a guy who I still don't agree with, in fact, he's kind of a heretic, but whatever, he's interesting to read, Vox Day, a lot of his history is bad, and he's got a streak of anti-Jewishness I'm not always happy with, because he's one of those guys who says basically that Talmudic Jews aren't real Jews. I don't know if you've run into those, but
I know Vox Day. I liked him more back when the alt-right thing didn't start. When he was just like libertarian sort of things. I liked him more then. I read his books and I liked it. But yeah,
he's made good points about race realism, which is absolutely correct. It's probably because he lives in Switzerland, where they have officially recognized ethnic groups and official religions. He's not stupid. He knows that a Finnish man has only a little in common with a Spaniard, and that an Englishman has only so much in common with an Italian, and that none of them have that much in common with a Frenchman. I mean, they have some, but not that much. The real common glue for most of Europe was religion.
Yeah,
what our
yeah,
spiritual heritage was. Even with Protestantism, even though I think the Protestant Reformation was a disaster in a lot of ways, even there, Europe was not reunited under the Christian religion.
exactly.
So
And
was the United States and Canada.
I gotta say this too, just in case, like I accept all of the race, all the real reasonable science about race realism, IQ differences, fine. I have no problem with that. I just don't think it's important. You know, like the religion, beliefs, morals are way more important. I mean, honestly, what's more important, a person's IQ or if he's an asshole or not?
This is a problem that the alt right, including Vox Day, misses, because Vox Day is one of those guys who says organized religion is a scam. And the problem with that is that what that really means, in my view, is that, oh, you and your opinions on the Bible are as good as anybody else's, or you're the expert. But that's my problem with all versions of evangelical Christianity. They claim they have the real answer, and your organized church is just garbage. And the
Yeah,
problem is you can't get any cohesion under that. All you have to do is look at all the sola scriptura Christians around and the way they fight like cats and dogs over the simplest Bible verses. And
yeah. I mean, yeah, like it is. I mean, here's the thing: is that I totally agree with what you're saying. I kind of like I like focusing on someone who is not religious at all, looking at this, and they might think, oh, what they're getting, because I know that a like big turnoff for people about religion, if they're not religious at all, is they're getting all this minutia about sola scriptura. What the hell is that? Blah blah blah. And I don't want to. This is all just a bunch of religious hoo ha. But here's the thing, okay? Life is complicated, and a belief system is complicated too. And I'm sorry, but there's such an urge, like the alt-right skeptics, they're always so simplistic. It's always like a couple rules. Oh, this, and this. Nothing but the material world. Oh, it's nothing but race. It's all so reductive. And
reduced
that's
to a
not
single
what life is like.
factor.
No?
Right. Reducing to a single factor. The libertarian fallacy is reducing it all to economics.
Yeah.
The race realist is reducing it all to the race realism. In fact, let me give you my opinion, and I bet you're going to wind up agreeing with me. On the race realism stuff, it's very hard to refute the data that IQ and race correlate. It's also hard to refute that IQ matters, because it does measure something, and including it has a correlation with life outcomes. However, it's got to stop there, because individuals, even if they aren't high IQ, may still have remarkable talents. And even if they don't have remarkable talents, there's a bunch of other stuff that IQ doesn't measure and can actually be negatively correlated with.
Yeah.
In fact, the higher your IQ is, the more likely you are to suffer from depression, anxiety, neurosis, broken relationships. In fact, if your IQ is much over 140, which is very high, but not as high as it goes, if it's much over 140, you'll actually tend to have worse life outcomes than somebody with a more 130 or 120. You'll tend to have worse life outcomes because of that stratospheric IQ.
Hey, you know what? This is gonna sound like I'm bragging, but I read a video on it, so I might as well say it. I was tested as a kid for having 140 IQ, and I have lots of problems, and I can carry. Yes, you're right. Put it that way. I have ADHD. Yep. I take medication for ADHD. I speak faster than I think. I got real problems with just depression and self-loathing a lot of times. I mean, and so that's something that I've mellowed out as I've gotten older. But yeah, dude, like high IQ by itself is just like having it's like having a really sharp brain and really quick. But there's real disadvantages to that too, and you can't build a whole civilization on high IQ. I mean, race realism, it's true. I mean, I knew race was real ever since I saw like how many black guys were in the NFL. I mean, come on, it's just like, okay, fine. There's differences between races. But the thing is that that's not what built Western civilization. It's not that it isn't. You know?
And in fact, the high IQ also doesn't say how reliable are you? How thoughtful are you when you actually do open your mouth? How trustworthy are you? How honorable are you? How good of a nurturer are you as a mother or a father or a brother or a son? How how honest are you? How diligent are you? How honorable are you? Give me somebody who flinches at telling a lie and really wants to do a good job and has a 95 IQ over somebody with 140 IQ, glib and can't shut his mouth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like,
just not everything. And in fact, if you're a medium IQ person, let's say you've got an IQ of 90 to 110, which is pretty average, right?
yeah,
You feel inferior. In reality, the high IQ guy might be what's the sly, cunning, deceitful, and able to outthink you, at least on his feet. And he may not be somebody you can trust at all. Smart isn't necessarily a marker for a good guy.
oh, definitely not. I mean, like, here's the thing, like, yeah, high IQ guys are gonna, if you want to get a lot of good computer programmers, developers, yeah, you're gonna go for the high IQ guys. Just like if you're gonna get a lot of good basketball players, you're gonna go for the tall guys. But that's all it. That's literally all it is. I mean, it's really just like quick brain, you know, quicker at putting things together. Everything else is up in the air. They're all humans. We're all got the same crap that we gotta deal with. I mean, that's just that's my experience from, it's so funny. I never even thought about my IQ. I'm kind of embarrassed by it. I don't want to like talk about it because it sounds like I'm like boasting because we put so much stress on the stupid IQ thing. I know it's important,
Right.
but it's not the end all.
In a lot of ways, it's like being, gifted with incredible athletic, natural athletic ability, or being double jointed.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, but it's all what you do with it. And yeah, you can do more with a high IQ, but not that much more because there's just so much more to life. In fact, one of the problems is the whole society is designed by academics who designed IQ tests to match people like themselves. And then those people go on to run all the big corporations. There's real limits to taking IQ too seriously. And that's the problem with the alt-righters. Because the real answer actually for low IQ, for one thing, is to get them churched, get them some values, and get them to where, young men especially will find ways of crafting projects together that build their communities and build their homes. And they don't need high IQs for that. They really don't.
Oh, yeah, I got to mention that too.
A community effort, it's really, come on. I'm sorry, go ahead, Normie.
Sorry, you broke up a bit there. Can you repeat?
That's all right. Hey, listen, Drew Sprinklywink says most autistics, example Asperger's, have high IQ but low EQ. That's not entirely true. It's just that autistics do tend to be like the opposite of a bell curve. A lot of autistics are very functionally retarded, and you wouldn't even get an IQ test out of them because they're so bad off. And it's a myth that they're all IQ. However, autistics do tend to blow the curve on a lot of things, and so a significant fraction of them are very high IQ. And you're right; they're very socially clueless. And I think there's where, and they're also considerably more likely. Those high IQ autistic types are considerably more likely to be atheists. And I think that is because they very naturally fall into or get trapped into materialist thinking. I'm convinced of this thesis. Because I grew up, I was an atheist for a long time, but I was never one of these real ideological ones. At least I didn't think I was.
Yeah.
And I hung out with nerdy computer types where there's just Aspie atheists all over the place. Aspie and ADHD, and they're mostly gentle and confused and harmless. If you have an aggressive attitude problem, but most don't. And I'm really convinced that they get sucked into cultural materialism, and their brains just kind of overfocus. But yeah, you've got to be real careful even there. You just can't put everything on IQ. It's not moral, but it's not even sensible.
Yeah, I would actually venture to think that even we always associate the high crime rate with low IQ. Right. Okay. That doesn't mean that high IQ means you're a better benefit to society, really. Okay. Because if you have a high IQ, you're less likely to go to jail. That's because you're not going to be an asshole in a way that gets you landed in jail. I mean, that's high
IQ criminals do more white collar crime. They're better as grifters. They're better as con artists. They're better as high level thieves. They're better at embezzling. They're better at that sort of thing.
And even if you don't commit crimes, there are lots of ways you can ruin society without committing a crime.
Companies, I'll show you an interesting book to read called The Irrational Atheist, also by Vox Day. who we were just mentioning. You should read this book. This is not a book to convince you there's a God or even convince you to become Christian or anything like that. It's just a book that looks at BS published by people like Dawkins, Harris, and Hitchens. And he notes a lot of the fake statistics that atheists still use today. For example, they'll tell you atheists are less likely to go to jail. That is a lie. Atheists are more likely to go to jail. He actually has a very clever way of phrasing it. He mentions that there are high church atheists and low church atheists. High church atheists basically are people like Lawrence Krauss and Richard Dawkins, who are moderately high IQ academics in good jobs in a very upper crust part of society. The rest of atheists, the irreligious, the godless in the lower classes, the poor ones with the lower IQs, they go to jail like crazy. They often convert after they get in jail and often become better people, becoming Christians, or sometimes they become some other religion, but usually Christian. They usually come out better, and in fact, they're less likely to reoffend when they get out if they convert to Christianity. He takes a lot of this apart, and this is what the alt-right misses too. The low IQ people who go to church are not society's problem. So you got to stop pissing on Christianity, or if at least you're going to piss on Christianity, pick a religion you think is better. Because, hey, everybody, we had a technical glitch there. We're back. Our apologies. I may take this out later, and we wound up with 2 separate streams. So sorry. This is twice I've done this. Accidentally stopped a stream when I meant to stop screen sharing. My apologies, everybody. So what we were just talking about was, what were we just talking about before we got cut off?
Box Day, Rational Atheist.
Yes, the irrational atheist. It's important that people on the alt-right should, especially because Box Day is an alt-right guy, but a lot of the young ones won't listen to him. I don't agree with him on organized religion. In fact, he's very wrong about organized religion, and it's his biggest Achilles heel. But that said, he makes the case, he shows it very well. No, especially lower income, lower IQ people, they do worse if they don't go to church. And if you're a medium to low IQ person, first off, you shouldn't be ashamed of that. It's not the be all and end all of everything. There's a certain kind of cleverness you don't have, but you have all kinds of other things. And the values you'll get at church, not to mention connections to other people, and of course the value of the spiritual, all that is there. And that's the hugest mistake they make when they start attacking Christianity, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing, basing everything on IQ is like basing everything on any other physical attribute, because I really think IQ is really a physical attribute. It's about your brain, and I think your brain is really, I mean, metaphorically speaking, of course, your brain is kind of like a muscle. I think we should view it like that. We are so sucked into this materialistic mindset where we view our brain as ourselves, when it's really not. I think your
brain's not your mind. Your brain is not your mind. In fact, we got all kinds of evidence in science that demonstrates your mind is not just your brain. It really isn't. The brain does certain things, but that's all. Your mind is independent of time and space. It really is. There's all kinds of evidence in science that even shows it.
Yeah. Inspiring Philosophy's got some great stuff on that, right? Inspiring Philosophy.
Yeah, he does. Inspiring Philosophy is a great channel, and I'll just pull it up here and recommend it to everybody. If you're a science dweeb like I am, then Inspiring Philosophy is the channel for you. It is, while Mike, the guy behind it, is a Christian, about more than 70% of his material at least is not necessarily Christian or biblical. There's a lot of it, no question, but he goes into a lot of science that would be just as of interest to just about anyone else. So go ahead and check out the Inspiring Philosophy channel. It's awesome. So
yeah, exactly. And so like you keep it that along those lines. If you base your whole society just on IQ, and race, you're gonna end up with a society that only values just strength. That's all. I mean, because that's really is mental strength. It's not wisdom. It's not a basis of foundation. So you're just gonna end up with a savage sort of society, despite what you might think.
Right. And let's pretend you have a high IQ. Okay, let's say, for example, you're like Vox Day and you have a 160 IQ, which puts you in a very elite group. Um, People with lower IQs actually have reason to mistrust someone whose IQ is that high. They really do, because they can outthink you, and you're going to come to a longer time coming to that conclusion than they are. That doesn't mean they're right, and that doesn't mean they're moral, and it doesn't mean they have your best. They have your best interests, and I'm not attacking him in particular. I just mean anybody like that. They don't necessarily have your interests in mind. They don't necessarily have any of that in mind. I have a very high IQ. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's quite high. And I wouldn't be
Yeah,
afraid of debate. I wouldn't be afraid of debating Vox Day. I just have to prepare carefully.
yeah.
That's not the point. You shouldn't necessarily trust me either.
Yeah, like any wisdom. I don't know about you, Max, but for me, any wisdom, any kind of like actual wisdom that I've gained in my life has not come from naturally with having a quick mind. It's become from my experience, from getting my heart broken, and breaking someone else's heart, from my children, from seeing life. I mean, like that's where wisdom comes from. It doesn't come from IQ, and wisdom is what everything's based on.
In fact, a high IQ person can rationalize almost anything and be convinced he's right when he's dead wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has a better way of rationalizing bad behavior than dumber people do. Because he's so fast, there. Yeah. That's why that happened.
Exactly, and then they're convinced that they're right because the whole world's been telling them IQ is like the best thing ever, and that's what, like, if you have a high IQ, that means you're better than other people. That's what really gets me.
Some of the times I made the biggest ass of myself was when I was the cleverest person in the room. You've got to look at things other than that. Basically, you have to have some kind of idea of God. You've got to have some kind of idea of the spiritual. You've got to realize you're not the one running the world, and you're fallible. And really, I mean, in fact, even if you look at it, while I'm sure somebody like Donald Trump or Barack Obama, it doesn't matter, they have high IQs. Rarely do people who rise to levels of power and influence like that actually have genius IQs.
Yeah, I mean, it is a disadvantage society-wise. I have a brother who's, I mean, I know what his IQ is. I never was important, but the point is that he's much more successful than me professionally, and I've got probably have a higher IQ than he does, but he's got a much better personality-wise. He's much nicer than I am. He's he's much more hard worker. He's a harder worker. Can't talk right now. I have a really high IQ, and a very hard worker, and so much more success comes from just good character. I mean, I sound like a dad saying this, but hey, I am a dad, so whatever. That's really what things are based on. Can I ask you something else? Yeah, the curse of the high IQ. There you go. I was gonna say that. No, actually, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
This is a book I should do a little bit of a review on. Not going to mention it here, but here is a good case in point of what I'm talking about. This book by Aaron Clarey goes by the name Captain Capitalism. Now, this is not a great book, to be honest with you, and this is why I think I need to do a separate review of it. There are some things that are in it which are true, which is that high IQ does, in fact, correlate pretty heavily with alcoholism, depression, suicidal ideation, and a host of other problems. High IQ people tend to have this problem. It's one of the reasons you don't want to be that envious of them. He also, though, he's an atheist, and he's one of those smug atheists who's not as smart as he thinks he is. And he even correlates the high IQ with, well, we're too smart to believe there's a God or an afterlife or any of that crap. And that's the kind of thing he says. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, gee, Aaron, and he talks about how he has all these high IQ friends who are also struggling with depression, broken marriages, dissatisfaction in their careers. And he's going on and on about how all these friends, well, all of his friends are atheists too, and they're all depressed and neurotic and alcoholic and have other issues. And it's like, dude, you didn't look at the atheist part. You keep assuming the atheism is what makes you smart, or the smart makes you atheist, and it's such garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I really think atheism. Here's the deal with me and atheism, because I've dealt with both like with people who are like really ideological atheism, the atheists that you speak of quite frequently, Max. And I've also dealt with people who are just, that's yes, they're atheists and they're other things too. In both cases, I found that atheism never added anything to their smarts or to their wisdom. It's kind of like in the good people that I met, it's kind of like a disfiguring thing where like I wish you were an atheist, dude, because you aren't open. Because that's another thing. It doesn't like they call themselves free thinkers. I found that atheism and materialism shuts your mind down. That you cannot go
Yes.
these certain routes. You can't go the certain route. We're like, oh, what if there's something outside the material? No, no, no. There can't be. There can't be. It's like a dogma. I mean,
Dude,
honestly,
I'm telling you, I mean it. Atheists think I'm kidding, but I do say things like, well, if you're going to be an atheist, would you please read some Sartre or some Nietzsche? At least you'll
yeah.
be interesting. Would you at least investigate Taoism or Hinduism? Because you'll at least be interesting.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man! There's just whole universes of thought they literally will not allow themselves to have, and they call themselves free thinkers. It's horrible, and I used to be like that, and I recognize now what a horrible mind box I'd put myself into.
Yeah, I mean, really, because like sometimes you talk to people and like, well, I talk to people. I've never been an atheist myself, and you go down this line of thought, and it's just like I can tell that it just hasn't occurred to them, and they're like, well, no, no, that can't be true because that means that it's like we're all stuck in time and space. Anything that is timeless has to be outside of time and space because everything in time and space had a beginning and has an end. So, like math, anything like that is just not going to decay and that stays the same has to be outside of time and space. But atheists don't seem to be able to grasp that, and they don't seem to like that's not places they think where their thought leads them. It's kind of like they're on like everything has to be having material cause. It's really frustrating, but I'm trying to be patient, like because you're just so closed off.
All right. So we've been going long enough. I am probably tomorrow going to go ahead and take these two streams and splice them together into one. My apologies to everybody for that. Normie, do you have any final thoughts for us before we close out here?
Just that, well, I mean, obviously, I want you guys to look at my channel and tell me what you think. I want you guys to give me comments, good comments, and yeah, let me know if I'm doing something wrong about, especially if this is one thing I want to add. I'm going through these religions right now, and if you are a practitioner of this religion and I say something that's absolutely wrong, please let me know and I'll correct it because I want to be respectful. Because one thing I've noticed about comparative religions talking about this stuff is that people treat it like it's like, oh, this is a science in a lab, and it's not. Religion is a way of life. It's something serious, and you should treat it with like respect. So if I'm not being respectful to your religion, let me know, and I'll try to correct it. That's all.
And by the way, if you're an atheist who just says, I respect no religion, that's fine. We just have nobody religious has any reason to respect you.
If you're that kind of atheist, look at my all religions just asking stupid pointless questions or third video and right in the middle there. That video is for you.
Yeah, there's nothing more shallow, dumb, and obnoxious than an atheist who barks that all religions are stupid. You know what? That just gives everybody's religion reason to look at you like you're a completely ignorant jerk who deserves no particular respect. Sorry, but that's just plain true. I got more in common with a Hindu than I do you at this point. All right, everybody, listen up. Please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Please also check out Normie Gardner's channel where he plays slide guitar, talks about religion, and other good stuff like that. Please give us your support on redpillreligion.com. Remember, the real red pill is realizing that religion is natural and healthy, and it's normal and rational and evidence-based to believe in the supernatural and the spirit. So please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Please tell your friends and enemies. Please give us your financial support, and God bless everybody.
Thanks, everyone.